Hello, everyone. Welcome to one of my authors' chats of the week. In just a few moments, I'll be inviting my co-host, and we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. And it's been a wild day for me. I don't know if anybody else noticed the outages earlier on, online-wise. And those kind of did affect the launch of my campaign, but now we're rocking and rolling, and fully funded in the first few hours for my special edition book. So I'm super excited about that. But outside of that, we'll be talking about, like I said, books, writing, publishing in just a few minutes when I connect with my co-host, and we'll be hanging out and talking books. I hope everybody's week has been going well so far. Keeping my eye out. And yeah, it's a busy one for me, clearly, because with the launch and everything. And gearing up to send a new manuscript to a development editor, and Black Friday sales for some of my other projects, so all that kind of fun stuff towards the end of the year. Let's see if she's sitting out. There we go. Haha. Getting things there. It's been such a big day, my brain is fried. Hello! Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
Perfect. And you did not have the real issue that so many people have coming on here of the inverted screen, so that's fantastic. This worked smoothly. That's what I like. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and since you're going to be my co-host for this next hour, I'll let you introduce yourself and what you write, and then we'll kind of go on from there. I will note that if anybody in the comments post anything bookish related, I usually try to make note of those, especially since in the off chance this platform is nice, I'll try to repurpose this live chat on my YouTube at a different point, so people can come back and reference and all that. But let's get things going and let you introduce yourself and your writing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Lucian Arthur. I write queer science fiction novels, very speculative, very weird. I have my latest novel here. It's called The Lights of Eresy, and this is about a team of scientists that goes and colonizes an alien world after environmental calamity hits Earth.
Oh, wow. And you said this is your latest story, so do you have any more? Is this your first published book? Or how many do you have?
This is my first published one, and I have another in the works now.
Ooh, that's exciting. So what got you into this kind of speculative sci-fi era fantasy, and what made you inspired enough to write your first book?
I think I've always been writing for as long as I could remember. I started out back in elementary school, a huge fantasy fan, very into fairies and princesses. As I got older, I kind of shifted to dystopian. But what I was realizing was with dystopian is I was kind of missing that fantastical element. So then I started writing books that kind of combine the two.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I actually have mentioned this recently on one of my lives that I need to be better about reading sci-fi, and same thing to do with a whole variety. It's just I automatically go to fantasy, particularly second world fantasy, because that's what I like to write, that's what I like to read. But I need to challenge myself to at least read more, because I love watching anything to do with fantasy, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, horror, and all these other genres. I look at any movie, any show. I just realized that when it comes to reading, I just list in one category, so shame on me.
I'm kind of the same way. My movie taste is definitely a lot more broad, and then with books, I'm like, just give me all the sci-fi.
I like that. I think that's also, you write what you like, you read what you like, you watch what you like. So it does kind of give you that perspective of your own interest. On the other hand, reading it outside your genre or watching things outside, your favorite things will allow you to see storytelling from different approaches. So I don't know, I think that's neat. So for you, what is one of your favorite sci-fi or speculative fiction, or what is one of your favorite books in general, I should say?
I've got to say it's Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. It's very out there, very weird, and very cool, and I love his writing style. It's very poetic and beautiful.
Ooh, I like that. I wish I could be more poetic in my writing. It's
I
not
do
a
too. That's
skill,
why I
it's
read
one
it,
thing
and
I
I'm like,
identify with. Yeah. So, okay, going back to your book, tell me a little bit about your character or characters. Like, who are your main, POV characters?
right. So my main characters. Oh, sorry if my cats are being loud in the background. This is kind of peak active hours for them. But my main characters are scientists. I go to a STEM college, and I'm down in Daytona Beach, Florida. There's not a ton of diversity, not a lot of those different groups of people. So I started inventing a cast of characters that were kind of like the people that I wished I had in my life. So they're all different characters. The main five are a physicist, a geologist, a biologist, a chemist, and a veterinarian. So kind of all those different backgrounds, very different people who come together and then use their differences to accomplish a goal.
I like that. And it was kind of interesting, you have the geologist and all these kind of things. When you think of like sci-fi that makes sense, like yes, check, yes, check, yes, check. And then you have the veterinarian. I'm like, interesting. So I wonder where the veterinarian comes to play, because I am definitely someone who loves all things animals. So I'm assuming that either you're transporting something on whatever ships or, vehicles that you're dealing with, or something again. Just curious. That was such a fun one.
So for what it was with that is with Earth colonizing a new planet, the first people they're sending over is just anyone they deem useful. So there is a lot of military, but also the scientists and medics. And the veterinarian was one where people were like, we could really use you because your vet skills could probably transfer over to people. And the medics could easily train you, and then we'll have you being useful in that regard. There are also alien species on the planet, so the vets kind of work with the biologists because the biologists understand the physical compositions, but the vets have a little more insight into that sort of mental function of the animals.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, when I was in college, one of the two things I majored in was it was psychology with the emphasis of animal behavior, because I wanted to be Dr. Dolittle in the sense that I wanted to talk to the animals, Yes. So I love that. I do love that approach. Now, with your book, is the first one that you've published, is this a standalone, or is the one that's in the works a sequel to this book?
This is a standalone book. I definitely considered writing a sequel, but it is my goal to be traditionally published someday. So for the time being, I'm kind of writing standalones until I get my foot in the door there. I tried writing sequels before, but it's not really, like, I kind of lose motivation when there's no one out there who's really going to read it.
I can get that. Yeah, that is one of those disheartening things. Like, if you put so much effort and time into work, and that incapable of finding that right readership, because most likely that readership is out there, but it's the finding it that's really hard. And I am a self-published author. I totally get that part, because marketing is hard. Advertising is harder. It's kind of perplexing, and I just kind of have to scratch my head and be like, I don't get it half the time. So I understand that. And for anybody who is trying to query, I mean, that is a long process, and it is something that I've heard recommended. If you're querying, come in with, a book of a standalone, or one that has potential to become a series later on. But, they're always more interested in a first or a solo book. And so that's, I totally understand that. And
querying is hard, marketing is hard.
Oh, definitely. So what is one thing you wish you knew in the beginning of your writing journey that would have helped you along, now where you're at, if that makes sense?
Definitely generally how to do plot outlines. I used to be a huge pantser, no plotting whatsoever. And I did some plot outlining for this last novel, but I realized with how I did it, it was still kind of iffy on the plot, which made it harder to market. So for this next book I'm writing, my main goal was just writing a protagonist who had a really strong goal throughout the story to be able to use that in marketing and create a character that was relatable to readers. I think it's definitely very important to write books that you care about and that you love, but you also do have to be able to connect with your readers, and that wasn't really something I was thinking about before.
Yeah, and that is that always long debate with you as writers. We want to tell the stories we want to tell. On the other hand, again, a lot of us also want to make money off the stories we want to tell. So finding that balance is key. And there is something where you don't have to necessarily dramatically change how you tell a story or, what you're trying to convey to people. But there is that kind of that learning of how can you make your pitch, your characters, the world you're developing, if you're developing a world, kind of be not only interesting, but have that kind of, like you said, that connectivity, that hook that someone's like, ooh, I sympathize, or ooh, I get that, or ooh, that's interesting to me. So yeah, trying to at least work from that approach is an important thing to do, no matter how you publish your books. It's something definitely I take into more consideration now than I did when I was beginning to. So I definitely do that. There's just a lot of things to consider when you're writing a book. So, so with your first one, you mentioned 5 characters. Are they all POV characters? Like, do they all have like chapters told from their perspective? Or are you writing one where one of them is your POV character, but those are all the larger main characters as well? Does that make sense?
I just have one POV for this one. It's third person. And the 5 main characters are kind of to varying degrees because I have the main character, then one of the other 5 is her wife, and then the other 3 they've never met before, so they're new co-workers, colleagues.
I gotcha, yeah. I definitely get that. Yeah, for my first few series, or at least the first 3 series that I've been working on, you can see some of the demos behind me, I approached it with that one POV, third person. It's just where I'm comfortable with for a while, but now I'm going to change things up going forward because it's going to be a little different.
I'm doing 2 POVs first person right now, and it's definitely very different.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, you're jumping all the way to first person. Like, I get that there are readers and authors out there who love writing and reading that, but at least for the writing side, I did one short story with first person, and never again. It's so hard. My brain doesn't work that way. The story was a lot of fun, but man, that was a tough thing to like just transition to. So kudos to you for jumping so dramatically between book 1 and your current project.
Thank you. It's definitely very different. It's a challenge, so I like it.
And did you say, or can I ask, what kind of genre are you trying to market for the second one?
It's the same sort of speculative sci-fi. This new one's also a little bit post-apocalyptic. So kind of like wasteland, apocalypse, nothing living, trying to survive.
Those are a lot of fun. Definitely. So for this upcoming story, did you have any different or new inspirations that fed into your newer upcoming work versus what inspired your first book?
I think for this new one, a lot of it was trying to branch out and create characters that had different interests. My last one, I'm studying biophysics, so having the characters be scientists was all very self-indulgent. So for this new one, I was like, let me think of some new interests, new hobbies, new careers for the characters to have, and it's been a challenge for me. It's harder for me to talk about things I don't know about, obviously, but I think it's really cool and it makes the characters feel different from one another and gives them different backgrounds and goals.
Yeah, and that is one of those feats, practically a feat, at least for authors to learn how to do and overcome, is create characters that aren't just 100% cookie cutter representations of you. You want them to also feel unique and different and real in many ways. And so a lot of us, I think, do start out with characters that are similar in some way, shape, or form to us. But as we continue to grow as writers, challenging ourselves to get even more vibrant, more diverse, more varied is the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it also sometimes takes a lot of research to do that. So
Yes.
for your stories, has there been any kind of fun thing that you've researched for your work that you were like, oh, that was neat?
Oh, I've definitely been looking at a lot of random history facts for this current one because one of my main characters is very interested in history. I decided to challenge myself. I hate history personally, but I thought it would be cool and really force myself to think outside of what I normally write. So I've kind of been looking things up for him to make references to, and sometimes I'm like, that's actually really cool. Maybe history's not that bad.
That is cool. I was gonna say, yeah, one of those, and again, you can surprise yourself with things you learn for researching even things that are deep into the fiction side, be it fantasy or, as you said, the speculative side of sci-fi. You could just be surprised of some of the really neat things you discover along the way. So I definitely love that aspect. But yeah, for I lost my train of thought. It's okay. That happens. It's been a long day for me. But how do you, since you are, getting going to get your degree, you're obviously going to all your classes and finding time to write and self-publish your first book, hoping to work on a project you're going to query. Where do you find the balance to do all of the above? Balance is hard.
Okay, so when I was writing this last novel, there was no balance at all. I was taking 17 credit hours. I was vice president of one club and part of two other clubs, and I wrote that novel in 49 days. I don't know how it happened. I could not do it again. I'm actually currently taking a gap semester because what I learned from that semester was I really want to prioritize writing in my life. So I'm on a gap semester right now, just working and chilling, also teaching myself figure skating. But in the spring, I'm switching to an online degree program. And what I like about that is I can go at my own pace. I can take school a little slower. I did graduate high school at 16, so there's not really a rush to get through college. And then really just be able to focus on writing. I'm hoping to also someday maybe move overseas, travel the world. So trying to get a little more of that school life balance now.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say kudos to you. Yeah, I here's my story. So in the process of becoming a writer, I started working on what was to be my first book, as far as Claws, the Linen to Blue. And the idea came to me the summer before I went to college. Now, I would work on it here and there, a little bit over Christmas break, obviously summer break. But because there is so much that goes on, in college and trying to be active in various clubs and every so often, I just never found the time. But I also, it's all about priorities. You clearly have a stronger set of writing was your priority at your age than I was back then. I always knew I was going to get there, but I didn't, prioritize. And that is one of those things. If you can tell someone is really meant to be a writer and when they're meant to kind of go down that path based on how much they focus, again, the priority of their writing craft. So that is pretty neat.
Yes. I think the main reason I got it done so fast was I kind of was also in that mindset of I don't have time for this with school and work. So I told myself I was just going to write 200 words a day. And then once I was behind the computer, the words just kept coming.
That's great, because if you have that spark, that writing spark, that's kind of what you need for certain stories. And I've had that on a couple stories where it's just like, bam, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be writing, and this is that time I'm supposed to be writing. And you get that writing bug, and you'll just sit down for hours and type away, and it's amazing what you can come. And then on the other hand, I've had books where I need to write this book. It's part of a series. I know where it's going, but it's just been so slow and so hard to get through, and you slog through. So I've had both experiences. Yeah. And I prefer the ones when they come to you in just that one beautiful, explosive spark of a moment. Those are a lot of fun. And I did see a
Absolutely.
comment coming up there to answer you about the YouTube thing. That is called scheduling. Scheduling behind the scenes for posts. I always love to work smarter, not harder. So anything that helps me do that is a win for me. But that's one of those many, many tricks I've learned over the years for the marketing side of writing. Schedule your posts. But no, that is pretty cool that you're going to be able to now switch around and have hopefully a better balance for you and what your interests are going forward of your writing as well as your academia. And since you're also for your first book, again, you can reflect your passions of the fact that you're going into, what kind of science did you say you're going into?
Biophysics.
Biophysics. And you can kind of see that reflection in some of the characters you are creating. I wonder, now that you're trying to teach yourself how to, you said ice skate?
Yes.
I wonder if that will show up one day as for one of the characters, hobbies or talents.
Possible. My current main characters, one of them is an artist, the other runs track. I do neither of those things. I'm a terrible artist, so it's always kind of random.
Hey, no, again, it's good to make the characters unique and different to you. Plus, it gives you excuses to kind of poke into maybe areas of expertise that you don't really know. Something that you aren't sure if you're interested in, but you have a character interested in it. So at least you need to check out a little bit. Just get that, just enough to flesh them out. And then you never know. You could get that interest down the line and be like, oh, I actually really like art, or oh, I really like track. I don't like to run.
No.
I do a lot of fitness, but running's my personal least favorite, but that's just mine, so I understand. So let me actually ask you, when it comes to writing your characters, I've noticed I kind of vary depending on book and series what I need, but how much description do you give your characters? Because you could have a book where a main character, you really don't know what they look like. They're described so vaguely, if they are described, all the way to those people who could tell you the etching inside a button on a sleeve of, this gown. And so when it comes to descriptions, how much descriptions do you give for your characters and then for the world itself?
I think that entirely depends on the character. For the one I'm writing now, one of them is kind of vaguely described, this is his hair color, his eye color, it all just kind of comes up when it feels natural to come up. The other one is only ever described by her clothes. She's the artist, she wears very bright, colorful things. So when the other character is looking at her, his description is she is so bright, I can't see past that to her. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of all the description that the reader gets.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of depends on the character. The artist one, she also does a kind of covert job. So in a way, her art's kind of like that wall in front of her, you can't see me past this. Mm-hmm. So it's been fun to write, definitely interesting.
Yeah, no, and it is something that's funny because I've noticed in my writing style, especially early on, I'm trying to be again more aware of, this, but I really don't care about describing what people wear. They're wearing clothes, I promise you, but
right.
Deep descriptions of that, it's just something that I guess for me, since I'm not really interested in that just because of who I am, I don't really, unless someone's wearing some really outlandish outfit, kind of what I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
I really don't note that stuff on the regular day to day. So stuff like that, I have to challenge myself periodically to be okay, there's a cosplayer out there who will one day want to dress as your character. Yes. Make them have something that's interesting, something that's a little unique. Don't make it so vague. I've started realizing that because I do have a whole group of friends that do cosplay, and I just started thinking about it. I was one day, I want someone to try to dress up as my character, but what would they look like? Yeah. Have I given them enough to go on that people will be oh, that's that character from this book,
Yes. I've gotten a few people drawing fan art of my characters, and I love it so much, but it's also a good reflection that I sometimes don't describe my characters well enough.
Definitely. And, everybody has a different writing style, so you figure out what's best for you and then you go with it and you learn, you adapt, and you change. Different books
Oh, yeah.
require different things. You may be discovering that now while you're working on your second book, things matter in, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less in your second project than they did in the first one. So
Absolutely.
it's a fun, always evolving thing when it comes to writing. So let me also inquire, because you were talking about how your first book was inspired about writing about the type of people you wish you could engage with on the day to day. And now that you're working on your second book, is that any of that reflected in the characters you're creating, or is this totally just different because it's again, a new story?
I think this story, I was just like, these guys seem cool. I'm gonna write about them.
I like that. I like that. Simple and to the point. Simple and
Yeah.
to the point. So if you had something, a bit of wisdom or knowledge that you've learned over the past, little bit with your book, your writing, where you want to go, what would that bit of wisdom be if you were going to tell someone, hey, this is what I learned. I thought this was cool.
I would really say that you have to write for your passion, not to make money. Making money is obviously a great side effect of being an author, but if you only write what you think is going to sell or what's going to be marketable, then you won't enjoy it. And then on the off chance other people don't enjoy it either, you're going to give up. So you just have to keep writing what you love. And then even if it's not super successful, you still feel successful because you wrote what you wanted to and what story you thought needed to be told.
And that kind of does reflect on the idea that what one person's idea of success is different than someone else. I mean, as you said, it'd be really nice for us to, make a living off books, but what does success mean to every individual is going to be dramatically different. For one person, it could be, hey, I have a physical book. I did this. And that's all I want out of it. And that's fantastic. And another person may be like, well, for success for me is to get a literary agent or to be represented by one of the big five or to have a book, turned into a movie or a series. So everybody's level of success can be very different. So I do like that. So now that you have one book, have you tried to what have you tried to get the word out that you have it? Or are you moving on to the next project because you want to move toward querying in the future?
I think with this one, I didn't do as much research as I should have beforehand. I did try to query for a couple months before I self-published. The major obstacle I ran into was a lot of agents who said they wanted science fiction had actually just forgotten to take it off their wish list.
Oh,
and I think this happened 5-6 times in every 15-20 queries. So at some point I just got really frustrated and gave up. It was definitely spending a lot of time on agents who weren't even looking for that sort of book anymore. So marketing wise, I definitely was posting a lot of videos on here. I reached out to some local bookstores. I was still taking classes at the time this had just been released, so I wasn't able to go super far. I think for this next book, I would widen my search radius for bookstores to do book signings at, for sure. And I've started making lists already of what sort of videos I could post, assuming I don't get an agent.
Hey, it's never, always reach for the stars, whatever that is for you. So if you want the agent, you want the big deal, keep aiming for that. But it is also a smart thing to do of constantly thinking, how do you market yourself? How do you pitch this book? Because even if you get a deal with one of the big five or any of these other publishing houses in between, marketing still is going to be part of the gig. So to have at least a plan, not necessarily even a backup plan, but some sort of plan in the works is always good. I can tell you that when I published my first book, I had no plan. I published it. I waited around for a couple years, wondering why no one would find my book. And there was a couple reasons. One is because I didn't mark it. The other was it was the wrong cover. And so once I got better at both the marketing and switched up the cover, things really changed over for that book and series. And it's been one of my best received ones. I've also worked on it the hardest because I've had it the longest. But it goes to show you that, it's good to have a plan in mind. So it's very smart to start thinking while you're even writing, how would I pitch this? What would be that hook? What are some of these kind of nice little coin terms that I can use that can perk someone's ears up? As the Atlas in the chat here says, plans are for squares, chaos is for champions. Well, to each their own, to each their own. He's a friend of mine, so I get that. To each their own. Chaos is good in some ways, but maybe not when it comes to marketing yourself.
I definitely think cover art's my other thing that I need to work on. I commissioned a friend who I sort of knew, didn't know well enough, did not get a good result, and I felt bad, telling them, hey, your art's not good. So it was very lazy, things weren't colored in all the way, they made it the wrong size and then cut it down wrong. So I tried to doctor it up myself, and I feel like I would have done a lot better making it on my own to begin with. So I've already been sketching up designs for the cover of my next book to make something really special that'll catch people's eye.
Yeah, and that is something, it's when it could be anything from editors or beta readers, ARC readers, depending on what you need, and then, of course, cover design. Working with someone in any way, shape, or form early on can be tough, because when it gets to that point that you have to say something, be it something's not right, something's not good, you realize this isn't going to work. It can, I won't say it will, but it can make things a little more of that awkward. And so for me, I like to, if I, as much as possible, look beyond the realm of my personal friends and family when I try to get people, because on the other hand, if something is not right, I can say that.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes both ways. I kind of learned the same thing with having friends be my first round of editors, because they're always like, wow, this is great, this is perfect. And I'm like, I could tell you right now it's not. I need you to be honest with me. So I think working with strangers or just even acquaintances I don't know as well works a lot better in both directions. There's just more room for honesty and less, oh, I'm going to hurt someone's feelings.
Yes, absolutely. And I love someone saying they want to support me. I appreciate that. But when it comes to things because for me, writing really matters. It is a business for me. I need people to be serious and okay to try to, if it's something like with editing and they feel like they're going to hurt my feelings, it's okay. I can cry in the background and then come back and regroup and then re-edit. It'll be fine. I need someone to be super honest with me. And the same thing when it comes to design, because cover design does matter. That's what catches people's eye. People say, don't judge a book by the cover. We do. So having the right cover for your work does matter. And you sometimes just have to be the one to say, it's not working. This is not right. And yes, masculine feedback is the best. Please do the part. Yes, that is true. It's that's what I'm about to do with my developmental editor. I am sending a book their way, and it's one of those things. I already said that I was like, you can make me cry. It's fine. You won't hear me cry. I won't do it in front of you. I'm gonna do it most likely, but it's for the best for the book.
Yes.
Oh me. So did you do, or what did or didn't you not do? Blah, words for editing for your first book, since you went so.
My editing was, I went through it on my own, and then I tried to have my mom edit it, and I realized my impulse to that whenever she tried to suggest an edit was to be like, no, you're wrong. So that didn't end up working.
Well, it is, yes. When you're a baby, when I could say baby writer, I mean like a first-time writer or a second-time writer, nothing to do with age. When you're a baby writer, you're at that stage where it's going to be the hardest to hear criticism. Now, not all criticism is correct. You can be right, someone else can be right. No.
I'm okay with criticism. I think it was just the fact it was coming from my mom.
Yeah, I get, and again, that goes back to sometimes it's nice to go outside of the family to do those things. Because it can, it is harder for a lot of people to take those advice, especially if you're an early writer, from anybody in general, but when it comes from someone from the family, you can butt heads.
Yeah.
I have done that before. I see you in the comments. I've done that before with people where they'll be like, this needs to change. I'm like, absolutely not. It's staying. You're wrong. Blah, blah, blah. And then later on, after 5 people are like, that needs to change. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard, my little doodad fell off my shelf. Sorry about that. We're fine. He might not be, but we're fine. No, it's one of those little art pieces, little sketch guys. He decided to bounce around. Interesting stuff. Anywho, sorry for that disturbance. I lost my train of thought there, but... So let me ask you, if you could recommend... We'll do one book. If you could recommend a book to someone because it's something that you've enjoyed, and it doesn't have to be in the genre you write, but what is a book that you would just recommend to someone?
Ooh, I think my go-to recommendation is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I'm a big superhero fan, but it also makes a lot of really interesting societal and political points throughout, through the lens of a superhero story. It's really interesting, switches perspectives. Sort of, I'm not an enemies to lovers fan, but that book did it so well. I thought it was really amazing.
That speaks a lot. If a book can make you enjoy something that in general you're like, about, so that is pretty good. And it's a good choice to some people. Okay, I see one also in the comments of Black Prism by Brent Weeks is one for you. I like it. Again, this goes back to, I love people stocking TBRs. So throw ideas out. I absolutely enjoy them. It's always fun to hear what people do. And I am such a slow reader. I feel like everybody has read 5 times at least the amount of books that I have. So I'm like, man, just let me know. I'm going to write them down. I'm going to write everybody's suggestions down. Let me fill my TBR. Plus the holidays are coming around. Come on. Yeah. If you could get a book, actually talking about the holidays, if you could get a book as a gift, what is like a book that you've been wanting that you don't have yet?
Dead Astronauts by Jeff Vandermeer. I recently read Born. I thought it was really interesting. It took me a while to get through it. It was a little slow, but Dead Astronauts, which takes place in the same universe, seems really fascinating. It's sort of like weird time travel out of space, so I really want to read it.
I like that. I see another suggestion in the chat, The Fall by Camus. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Probably one of the best out there, simple yet complicated. Interesting. And thank you, Alice, for the 12 tasks. One of my own. I love that. And but yes, book suggestions are fantastic. So with your first book, since I looked up and the hour is going to start to speed on by, always does this at like this point of the hour. Let me ask a couple questions that I always try to make sure I at least touch upon before the end. One of which is, where can people get your book? Is it available through Zon? Do you sell direct? Like, where can they find your book?
I publish through Ingram Spark, so it's available with Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you can think of. I do also offer signed copies with additional free doodles throughout the book, and those can be found at the link in my bio.
I love that. And also, what formats are they available? Is it I think it was a paperback that you showed a little earlier. Do you have hardcovers, ebooks, audiobooks, or is it just paperback at this moment?
Paperback and ebooks.
Fantastic. Hey, those are the way to go. Those are the essential ones, because you'll have the print readers and you have the ebook readers, and especially early on, because I know audiobooks expensive, and even though I love a good hardcover, you don't need a hardcover, at least exactly. So that's pretty good to have. And you said your ebooks are also through Ingram as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. So that means they're available pretty much wherever ebooks can be found. I love that. That is a smart approach. I recently moved toward the end of last year and the beginning of this year, started moving all my ebooks wide. So trying to, allow them to be found by as many people as possible. I think that's a nice thing to do. So that is kind of cool. Another thing I want to ask you is, outside of Book Talk, are you on any other platforms at the moment, or is this really your focus right now when you're talking about your books and being an author?
I am also on Blue Sky, but the only thing I really post on is TikTok.
Hey, it's okay. Repurpose those things. That's what I do, is like, if you take the time to make content, utilize it as much as you can. Again, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make an Instagram soon, just haven't gotten around to it.
It's okay. Limited time in a day. And while you're juggling, because again, education is a job. Writing is a job. Right now you have at least 2 jobs under you.
And I just got a real job too. I start tomorrow.
Well, here's the thing. I will always call writing a real job, even if it doesn't financially support you. That is a 3rd job.
Fair enough.
Think of it that way. It's a 3rd job. So now you're juggling 3. Again, going back to, how do you balance everything?
I don't know. I think really just making sure to have a clear schedule throughout the day is the big thing. Definitely sectioning aside some time for writing. I always make sure to write first thing in the morning after I eat breakfast, because otherwise I will procrastinate all day and it won't get done. So kind of sitting down with breakfast in the morning and just getting those words out before anything else kind of helps.
I agree. But then again, I am a planner and a schedule and all the above. I also know personally, I write best in the morning. Now, some people do evening or night, but I do new writing in the morning, and then when my brain starts to get to mush, that's when I can do other things like marketing and,
yes.
I am also a pet painter, so do something like that in the afternoons and change things up. So I get that. That is pretty cool. And yes, and I see a comment about, can't say you're not ambitious. So yes, it's a juggling thing. We all, as writers, have to figure out how to get those right balances for us. And so that is definitely something that is important. So with your work in progress, are you at this point in time trying to figure out, like, do you know who you want to query to? You don't have to say names right now, because that's but like, do you have like a list in mind of agents that you're trying to reach, or are you going to wait until the very end? Because I know things change day to day sometimes.
I think it's going to be whoever's accepting sci-fi on Query Manager, really.
That's fair, because things change so much. You blink and someone opens submissions, someone closes it, and all that kind of stuff, or queries, I should say. So I definitely get that. But because I wasn't sure. Like for me, when I have strategies, and I'm open if I ever want. I like the idea of hybridizing at some point. I'm not making like a real effort for right now for doing that, but I am open to that idea. So I'll periodically, note maybe someone who's being repped by a person, or, one of my other author friends. I was like, who's your agent? How do you like them? Making this like background list in the chance that I decide to go that route, or at least attempt to go that route. So it is kind of you never know. But let me ask you, so for the book you published, what what is one of your favorite things about it? And it could be a character, it could be a twist, but you don't have to then go too far into it. What is something that you're like, I really like this aspect of my first book?
I definitely think it was one of the twists. I think it's about halfway through. Can I kind of spoil?
I don't see anybody like quickly say no, no, no. I mean, I think it's fine. So as long as
Okay.
you're comfortable with it.
Yeah. So what happens is the aliens on this world, the humans know that they're telepathic, but they don't really know why. And it turns out that the humans decades before had allowed the aliens to ingest human DNA, and it kind of fused with theirs, made them more intelligent and smarter. And from that point over, all the aliens were part human in a way. And then the main character later on ends up ingesting the alien DNA and then ends up she has all these new perceptions. She can see invisible creatures that her peers around her can't. She can communicate with the aliens much clearer than before, can see all these new colors, and it's just a lot of fun.
Ooh, I like that. It is, being more than human and having that twist where it's been going one way, and then all of a sudden it is finding out it can actually go both ways. So that is kind of fun. And how do you describe colors that we can't see? I want to know this. I feel like it's a short story about this, a horror story about like some kind of color that we didn't see or we've never seen before or something. So how do you describe that?
I kind of described it as she was thinking it was like a color that was more like emotion or a feeling. It made her like feel or sense things that other colors didn't. She was like, there's these things in the trees that like I think they're invisible, but if I don't quite look at them, I know they're there. So it was a lot of her struggling to figure out how to put words towards it and coming up with her own labels for things.
Yeah, I mean, that is this actually is a fascinating topic. It's like how does words and the vocabulary allow you to understand and interact with the world around us? Because without those words, how much of what we know or understand and can process now would we be lacking? It's just an interesting topic to think about. So
Right.
I do enjoy that. So let me ask you, is there anything that you wanted to cover during this live chat that we haven't covered? Any questions you wanted to ask that you haven't asked yet? Because this is that nice time to do any of the above or all. And same goes for anybody listening too.
Honestly, do you have any tips for marketing?
Oh, so how long do we have? Oh man, where do you start? So for me is trying to wrap my head about which way to approach this. I always like try new things. Never be afraid to try new things. There are some people on this platform that say they're marketing people for books, and of course take that with a grain of salt because anybody can say that. Though there are a handful of them, and I'm terrible with names, so I can't think of them off the top of my head. But they do have some interesting ideas. They'll like pitch ideas saying, "Hey, if you need to find something to post today, or just a different way to pitch your book, here's something I challenge you to do this kind of thing." And even recently, I've started doing that because my brain's been fried. I have this campaign for my special editions that I'm running, and that's been like all of my bandwidth for my brain power. It's been going into that. So coming up with new things for marketing has kind of like been a struggle even for me. So it's sometimes nice to find and follow those people because if you just can't think of anything new, they'll like throw something fun out and you're like, I could do that. I could try that. And it's been nice to see a positive result from that. So, if you need a search on this platform and just say, book marketer, again, take it with a grain of salt. Because anybody can say that. But that can at least help you get some nice ideas out there. Outside of that, be honest with who you are, and be excited about your books. Come up with talk about the genres, the themes, again, these tropes, the things that perk up people's ears, and just play around. Things change all the time, so what works one day might not work the other day, but you never know what's going to be that spark for you. So
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, that's not necessarily any more specific. If any other authors are in there and have a tip, throw it out here, because we're all learning here. And then, of course, another thing is try to build a community. I don't know if Atlas is still in here, but the idea of building a community with other authors and other writers, because in general, everybody's just so sharing and willing to help out people that it's very nice when you have that network, what you can not only learn, but what other people will help you out with, anything from cross promotions to ideas to someone, if you just need a shoulder to just complain on or cry, that theoretical cry on, they're there for you. But on the other hand, they're there to support you and motivate you, and they may be the ones to give you the critique and you need to help improve. So building a writing community, from face-to-face or virtually through platforms like this, that's another big help, I think. So, like I said, if anybody out there has other tips, tricks, suggestions, throw those out, or post them in the chat, because there's so many different ways you can approach it. What works for one person doesn't work for another. It's a game.
Yes.
And again, another thing that has been a lot of fun is, at least for me, I identify as an extrovert. So I do like to do some face-to-face things. And you were talking about going to your local bookstores and finding places to sell your books. Have you ever done a book signing yourself?
I have tried to do 2 through local bookstores. They said they were kind of at capacity for sci-fi for a while. Hoping to go back there eventually. I've been looking into some of those sort of craft fairs or small seller fairs. Hoping to get into one of those soon.
Yeah, start with those, because those can bring attention to you in many ways. Be careful if they're outside with the weather. That's my little panic, because when I used to sell art, weather was an outside and booth, so I was just like, whoo! Weather is challenging.
Yeah.
But anything with artwork or paper or anything like that. But outside of that, no, those are great ways to get exposure and start building a name for yourself. Start building, hopefully a network of readers that will become fans, who will become those super fans going forward. So definitely see what's in your area, because those are great places to start.
Awesome.
Yeah. So sorry, my voice is getting a little scratchy. I've been on and off lives all day again, because this was launch day for me, but that's okay. And let me also say thank you so much for hanging out with me this hour. It's been lovely talking to you and learning about your book and your writing and all the things you've been juggling in your life at this point in time, and the fact that you are making writing a priority. Even right now, when you have so many other things going on in your life, that does say a lot to you and your passions.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I hope that your launch is going well.
Thank you. So far, so good. So far, so good. Again, it's day 1, so we will see how it continues to go, but it's always neat. And one more time, why don't you lift your book and show the cover and let everybody know about it and where to find it. And look at that.
This is The Lights of Eriswy. It is a queer science fiction story, and you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or with the link in my bio.
Fantastic. And I'll do my little spiel as well. Right now I have my special edition campaign running starting as of today, so it'll be for the special editions of the complete set of my Viking Dark Fantasy series, which is Dark Retelling of Nordic Myth. And I'll just show you a little bit. So the iridescent foiling, colored sprayed edges, and papers, all the jazz. So that's going on right now. That has been my thing.
Can I ask how you made those?
My big project. Sorry, what was that?
Can I ask how you made those?
So so these actually, I'm working through a a printer. They're called Book Vault. And so they're the ones who produce these. And there are a couple companies out there that help authors, especially indie authors, produce special editions, and each of them have like a different set of like special perks and everything. I've used them. I've heard they're very reputable. These are my demos, and they're really nice quality of everything. I do have some tweaks to do, but that's on my end, not theirs. And they are a UK company, so just note if you're doing special editions for them, you do have to calculate in advance what shipping cost would be to get them to you and or to your readership. But I do really like them and highly advise them, and that's why I'm doing this campaign right now to help offset and allow me to produce this beautiful set of books. So that's what they're from, below said. If you're interested in doing special editions of your books, there are a handful of companies out there. This is the one I'm using, but there are others out there, and you would just ask. What I would suggest is if you see other authors on platforms like this that are doing books like that, and you want to know, just ask. They'll, again, most of the time be very, very, very helpful and happy to tell you, oh, I worked with so-and-so, or I worked with this group, or I worked with this organization, and yeah, check them out. They're fun. It's been a goal of mine. It has been a goal of mine to be able to do this, and I'm excited that I'm finally able to do it. But
that's amazing.
We all have to go at our own paces. But with that said, I'm going to actually probably turn, and since I can feel my voice coming very scratchy, but again, thank you so much for being able to come out and connect with me this hour and talk about your queer sci-fi speculative fiction, and that's been really neat. And I really wish you the best as you're working on your current project, and whenever it comes time to querying that, hopefully that's a success for you too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if you ever want to do one of these again at a later date, just let me know. I do plan them in advance. But I always love talking with people and catching up at, as we all progress at our stages of our writing careers. So it is always fun. Awesome. And for everybody who's been hanging out with us this past hour, thank you so much. And I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week, and happy reading, everyone. Bye-bye.